am unable to get to the phone right now, but if you leave your name and phone number, I will contact you at my earliest convenience.
Who is this irresistible creature who has an insatiable love for the dead?
Reaching beyond the borders into the unknown. Welcome to Paranormal Investigations of Oklahoma.
Zombie to start off the podcast show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Kale, Epperson, and you have just tuned into Paranormal Investigations of Oklahoma, the podcast show. Yeah, Rob Zombie. I love that little snig bit at the beginning of Living Dead Girl. That's just creepy, and I figure, hey, that'd be great to throw in this intro, and I think it fits just perfectly with our topic of ghost phone calls. And I don't know if anyone has ever experienced ghost phone calls or this strange electronic voice phenomena, but having ghosts and spirits call you on the phone, either by leaving you messages or you pick up the phone and you're having a conversation with somebody that's not in the living anymore, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I got my own story about it. I even got some email messages from people with their stories of ghost phone calls. And but before I dive into that, I know a lot of people, they've been tuning in and they're checking out my YouTube channel, my Daily Motion channel, and they notice, hey Kale, what's the deal? We haven't seen a podcast in a while. It was November and now we're in February. What the heck happened? If you listen to my past podcasts, you realize that I'm a very busy person. I have a main job that I go to, plus I'm busy with a paranormal team. It's just that simple. Trying to juggle both. If you're running a paranormal team, it is like a second job. And it keeps you busy. And I've been busy with other stuff. And tell you the truth, I've been very blessed. 2016, things are going awesome. Trying to keep negativity away, pushing it aside. And like I said, things are going great. Team's doing good. Investigations are rolling in. We're getting contacts from other paranormal groups that want to work with us or need our help. And if you know me, I'm a big advocate for paranormal unity. It's just that simple. I like working with other teams, sharing experience, sharing knowledge. That's what it's all about. I got to tell you, it sucks sometimes if you're on a paranormal team and trying to make investigations and making time for it. I got a lot of new team members this year that started off, and a lot of the old team members, had to resign. And a lot of it is because of work reasons. When you get promoted up in a job or you get a supervisor's position or manager's position, that takes up a lot of your time. And you get tied up at your job and you have a hard time trying to break away and to do investigations. And that's completely understandable. Always remember, folks, when it comes with ghost hunting, family comes first. Your main job comes first. You don't get paid to ghost hunt. The purpose for ghost hunting, how I have always looked at it, is to help other people. You got to think, people got weird phenomena that happens at their work, at their homes. They don't understand how to deal with these situations. They may go to a church or to a friend or a family member reaching out for help, and no one can help them. And that's where we come in as ghost hunters or paranormal investigators to try to help them get some answers. We try to give them either closure or more understanding about what's going on. But yeah, the team's doing great. Like I said, we're doing awesome. We already got several ghost investigations underneath our belt already. January was a busy month for us, and February is going to be just as busy too. It's hard to be a hardcore investigator. It's difficult. Very difficult to be and do what we do. And I know you're thinking like, God, I'm on the team, Kale. I understand completely what you're talking about. like for me, I got a main job. We normally, when we do our ghost investigations, we either investigate on Saturday nights or Sunday nights. And just think if you got an investigation on Sunday night. Now, for me, my days off are weird. Most of the time my days off are Wednesday, Thursdays. Most people, a normal work shift, you're off Saturdays and Sundays. Well, that doesn't work for me. My Saturdays, I have to work. You work during the day and then try to squeeze in an investigation at night and then back to work the next day. Sundays are even more difficult for me, working an 8-hour shift, trying to get a little bit of rest, investigate that night, then back in the next morning to do a 12-hour shift. And by the end of the day, you're completely drained and exhausted. But you know what? It is completely worth it for me. I'm just that hardcore into it. But speaking of hardcore, one investigation we did not too long ago, we were at a mental institution, and we joined up with another team. And this was one of those serious, hardcore investigations. It tested you to the limits. Now, you're going into a huge, active location. And the freaking temperature that night, folks, it's misting, it's raining, talking about freezing rain, snow, and here, us wild, hardcore people are venturing out in below freezing temperatures. I think it was almost 24 degrees that night, and we're doing a ghost investigation. Inside the building was freezing. We're all layered up, but we froze. Oh my gosh, I was never so cold in my life. You got the hand warmers, you got the thermals on, the jackets on, just trying to keep warm. But I tell you what, that night was very active. We had a lot of EVPs. Yeah, tons of EVPs out of that place. It was an active night, things moving around, hearing disembodied voices and sounds. And we even tested out new equipment out in the field. We tried out periscopes. If you get online, look up Jeremy Jones and periscopes. It's a new device they've been using out in the field. If you listen back to Paracon 2015, you hear Jeremy Jones on there talking about his periscopes. But simply, the periscopes work. I'm really pushing these. This is awesome. I really enjoyed using this device out in the field. But the periscopes, they light up. They pick up static electricity. The theory is ghosts and spirits are made out of energy, and this device is able to pick them up. And, if you rub this device on your skin, it can pick up your static, but you can put it in a room somewhere by itself, put a camera on it, and it gives you the direction of travel of the spirit, how fast or slow the spirit is going. It's great. You can ask the spirit to change colors on the device. The device has a rainbow of colors, and you can ask the ghost, can you turn the red light on? And see if it turns it on. If you've been on my PIO Facebook page, I posted a couple videos with us in this mental institution using these devices. Kind of hard to see the lights light up. We're in a room that's completely dark. I just had a regular small camera that I'm using trying to record this. It was kind of hard to pick up the image, but you could tell it's lighting up. It was freaking awesome. Yeah, ghost phone calls. That's one thing we're going to be talking about is ghost phone calls. Weird, isn't it? Have you ever experienced ghost phone calls? Well, I'll tell you what, I have. And you're wondering, Kale, why are you talking about ghost phone calls? Well, I had a client once. We were visiting with a client, and we were there investigating his business, and he goes, Kale, I got to play something for you. I keep getting these weird messages, weird phone calls, but the voice on the other end, I can't understand what they're saying. Our client, and he speaks Spanish, naturally, but he says the voice that's coming over is not in English. And it's not in Spanish either, but he doesn't know what it's saying. He played this recording. I wish I had the recording on me so I could play it live on the air, but I don't. But he recorded some of these sessions. And it was weird. Whatever was coming on the phone, garbly goop for voices. And at first I'm listening to it and I'm trying to debunk it. Naturally, that's what we're supposed to do. And I'm thinking like, okay, if somebody calls you up, maybe it's a glitch with the phone, a glitch with the satellite reception or something. Maybe you're just picking up random voices off the signals. That's what I'm figuring. Your phone's just an amplifier for that. It's just playing it through. But the more I kept listening to this, it was obvious that's not what it was. this was a evil-sounding voice. I'm not going to throw demonic out there quite yet, but the voices, whatever was speaking through, there were several different voices, but one voice seemed to stand out more, and the ghost's voice. I'm going to call it the ghost. Okay, I'm just going to throw it out there because I think it's paranormal. It was creepy. Very creepy, gobbledygook. Even to this day, I don't know what language it was in. I had several people listening to it, and they didn't know what the voices were. They couldn't understand what it was saying. But he got several phone calls like that. He said his phone would ring. He'd pick it up, and it has no name about who's calling. And he'll pick up the phone, and it's garbly. Is it possible somebody could have star 69 him, try to block it? Well, it's possible, but normally you'll get blocked phone call that shows up on the screen or caller unknown. This had nothing. And he said when he got the messages on his phone never rang. He just happened to pick it up and go, "Oh, I got a voice message." Click, there's the creepy voice on his message. And I did have an answer for him. I didn't. It's paranormal. We don't know who's trying to call him. And what was interesting with this business investigation, that was one of our last ones we just did recently. And one of my investigators, her phone started freaking out. She had a smartphone, a very expensive iPhone, and it's wigging out. I'm not kidding you. Screen fading in and out. The desktop on it was doing weird things, and she still has some issues with it too, and she's taking it to a cell phone place. They can't figure out what's wrong with it either, but it was paranormal. She said she had no issues with her phone when she brought it into the building, and then on her break during the investigation it started acting weird, and it still acted weird until she got home. It's possible it could be just a glitch in the phone. You try to be scientific, try to be logical about it, but, it's kind of interesting that this same location where the client had phone issues, that she started having phone issues. Is it possible the ghost was trying to communicate with her through their phone? Yeah, it's possible. As a kid, I remember picking up the phone, and Mom and Dad had a landline, and you'd be talking with somebody, and you could hear another voice on the line. And of course, with landlines back then, if you know what a landline is or a party line, other people's phone line is connected into one line. That shows how old I am, isn't it? But, you could pick up the phone, and you could be talking with someone, you can hear click, click, and you hear somebody else pick up the other end, and they'll be talking. "Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were on the phone," and they'd hang up. But I remember as a kid picking up Mom's old dial phone, the rotary phone, picking it up. There wouldn't be anyone on the end. And you'd have the dial tone, but you could hear voices on the other end. Now, is it possible it could be just random phone calls, random sounds going through the line? Yeah, it's possible. But to hear voices, unknown voices, yeah, it's kind of creepy. But ghost phone calls, most ghost phone calls that you hear about, or stories that you hear, is, people getting phone calls from somebody that they know, have a full conversation with them, and then finding out later they've been dead for a long time. I experienced this. Here's my story. When it comes with ghost phone calls, I was doing security work at a local mall here in Oklahoma City, and it's the middle of the night. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm on my rounds, and like I said, I do security work, and we carry a radio that's got a patch phone built into it. And the patch phone it's just a phone inside your radio. If somebody calls, it'll ring, you push the button, it answers the phone, and it works like a CB. I talk, they talk. I talk, they talk. That's basically how it works, because I had to key up a button to speak with them. But I had an alarm go off at one of the stores. Now, I'm not going to name the store, because I don't want people to rush to this location thinking that it's haunted. But alarm went off at this business. I went and I checked the store. Doors were locked. Windows were secure. No problems whatsoever. Like I said, it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. I get a phone call from the owner of the business. And this guy, he's up there in age, not doing well in his health, and he calls. I pick up the phone. He's like, yeah, this is Mr. So-and-so. Like I said, I'm not going to give his name. I'm calling in to check in on this alarm. Is everything okay? Yes, sir. We just checked the doors, checked the windows. Everything is fine. Alrighty, if there's any problems, give me a call. Alright, no problem. After I hung up with him, I got another phone call. And it was from the daughter, checking in on the store. And I mentioned to her over the patch line that, yeah, we checked the store, checked the windows, checked the doors, everything was fine. We just talked with your dad just a little bit ago on the phone, and we let him know that everything was fine. And she got quiet on the phone. She said, okay. And she was very tearful, and she hung up the phone, and I thought, well, that was kind of weird. Well, the next morning, she came in early. And it's one of those business deals, you know. I was surprised she even came in at all. But she started telling me how weird that phone call was. I'm like, well, what are you talking about? She goes, let me ask you again. Again, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You're telling me my dad called you at 3 o'clock in the morning to check up on the store? Yes, ma'am. You know, we got it documented. This was the dispatch call. It's from your dad. She goes, that's impossible. My dad died around midnight. My stomach dropped. And it hit me pretty hard that just happened. Now, during this time period, I just started getting into ghost investigations. I was just a brand new investigator. Didn't know what the heck I was doing or anything like that. I'm at my main job. Didn't know what to say. And I was like, no, I got a phone call from your dad. She goes, are you sure it was my dad? Are you sure it wasn't my brother? I said, yeah, I know your dad's voice. He has a deeper tone than your brother does. When she told me he was sick in the hospital and he died at midnight, but he called me up at 3 o'clock in the morning, that was freaking weird. And how'd that happen? See, that's what blows my mind. Okay, if he passed away at midnight and called me up at 3 o'clock in the morning, same guy, same person. How the heck did that happen? How do ghosts, how are they able to do that and manipulate items? Now, I figured probably when he passed away, he probably still felt like he was still alive. I don't understand how he would have known about the alarm call. I'd been interested in calling the alarm company to find out who they called. Now, they called the daughter, but did they call him? And did he pick up the phone and talk to this alarm company operator as a ghost? Get you thinking, don't it? I tell you what, that was one of the weirdest things for me. That's a story I always like to share when it comes down to ghost phone calls. And that's a prime example. A phone call from someone that just died. There's lots of stories about it. You know, people getting phone calls from people that passed away, just recently passed away, or somebody that's been dead for a long time and they call them up on the phone, or they get weird text messages. Ghost phone calls. Now, if you got your own story about ghost phone calls, don't hesitate to put those in the comment section below. Can ghosts call people by way of electronic devices, such as telephones, cell phones, in order to get a message to loved ones? I just don't know. I think it's possible, though. I can recall several ghost stories about telephone calls from the dead. Often the stories tell of a last-minute message, such as, I love you, goodbye. The loved one receiving the true long-distance call is usually often shocked. And you know what? They realize the voice on the other end is a family member or someone that's just passed away. But strange enough, when such phone calls from the dead occur, the caller ID screen, some has said, displays weird numbers like just zeros, straight zeros, or nothing at all. People getting voice messages on their answer machines, on their voicemail of people that's passed on. Craziness. Absolute craziness when it comes with ghost phone calls. I'm going to dig up my email here and kind of read you some stories here that people have sent me. And everyone that just sent me their ghost stories, thank you so much. I'm going to try to read some of these off and see what you people think. Let me look here. Cell phones, cordless phones, telephones, ghost stories. Let's see. Let me browse through my email here. Clickety click, click, click. Here's one. This one's a very good one here. I'm going to read this off to you. It says the impossible clone call. That was in the subject title, okay? I'm not going to give the lady's name. I'm not going to embarrass her on the air here. But this is her story. She says, many years ago, when married to my first husband, I received a telephone call at 4:20 a.m. It was my elderly brother telling me he just got married. The call woke up my husband, and I spoke with my brother for about 5 minutes. I hung up and went back to sleep. About a week or so later, I was visiting my mother's home, and the same brother was there with his wife. I thanked him for calling me, and I got this odd stare, and his mouth fell open. He told me he called our mother, but he never called me at all. I turned to my mother, and she related the entire conversation that she had with him, and then I related the entire conversation I had with him, and these conversations were literally identical and at the same time. Weird. I tell you what, that is weird. Here's another one. Let's see here. Strange. Let's see. Sorry, I'm kind of screening through my email here. The phones that called each other. Now, here's another strange phenomenon. I've actually gotten calls about this myself from clients. One phone will call another phone for some weird reason. This is what this person wrote. She put, the strange incident happened in our home at Christmas. My husband had a cell phone on our dining room table, and it was turned off for the evening. My purse was in the library where my husband was playing a computer game with our daughter. As my husband and daughter were playing, my cell phone rang. My husband picked it up, and it said incoming call was coming in from his cell phone. He thought our son was playing a prank on him, and he ran into the room we were in and told our son to stop messing around with his phone. We laughed at him and asked him what he was talking about. He said, your phone just rang, and it said call was coming in from my phone. This is where things got weird. My son and I were both in the same room together talking, and neither one of us had left the room. We weren't even in the same room as my husband's cell phone at all. My husband checked his phone, and sure enough, it was still turned off as he had left it. We can't figure out how the call came into my phone from his phone when his phone was completely off, and no one was in the room with his phone. Strange indeed. We all pretty mystified about the whole incident. The phone call that never was. That's in the subject title here. This one says, my mom usually picks me up from work, and she doesn't work far from me. One Tuesday night we were driving home when I asked her how my dad's computer classes were going. My dad usually attends the computer classes every Tuesday night. She said she didn't know as she hasn't spoken to him about it. She asked me why. I replied, well, I was speaking to him and he said he was having some trouble. They had been given 3 assignments to complete and he couldn't finish assignment number 2 as the computer wouldn't save as. I think he eventually managed to do them all through. Says, all right, she said. That night, with the conversation with my mom forgotten, I was sitting watching TV when my dad knocked on my door. He said, I was speaking with your mom earlier about a conversation you had about my computer class. How did you know we had 3 assignments and had trouble with the second one? Confused, I said, you told me that on the phone. No, I didn't. There is no way you could have known that because I just come from my computer class. You had the conversation with Mom before I went, and what you told Mom happened tonight. I couldn't have known we had 3 assignments as I missed last week's class. We both sat there looking at each other, trying to figure out how I knew what was going on before it even happened. We both just sat there looking at each other, trying to figure out how I knew what was going to happen before it did. I was sure we had spoken on the phone about it, but how could we if it hadn't happened? The strange thing is, I can remember my dad telling me what happened on the phone, but I can't recall how, where, or when. Pretty weird. Interdimensional calling? Ghost calling? Is it picking up future events, past events? Kind of weird, isn't it? Here's another message here that was sent to me. Right in the subject, it says, "The call from my grandfather. Sometime in 1999, our phone was out. My mother was at work and I was asleep when the phone rang and woke me up. I answered the phone and I didn't hear anything. I listened, and then this man said something that I did not understand. I said, 'What?' And then the man repeated himself. He said, 'Is this the barber shop?' 'No,' I said. Then I didn't hear anything else, and the phone sounded dead, so I hung up. But as soon as I realized the person sounded exactly like my grandfather, who had been dead for 4 or 5 years. The phone wasn't even working at the time it rang, because after it had rung, I picked it up, and the phone was still out. I am convinced it was my grandfather." That is interesting, too. Very good story. I appreciate that getting sent in to me. Here's another message that I got. It's called "The Message from the Afterlife." It's in the subject title, and this person sent me a message here, and it says, "My sister has had some pretty interesting activity on her answering machine and phones. I have heard messages from the other side left on her answer machine. I know someone or something is trying to communicate with her using electronic energy as a mode. What we both want to know is how we can better receive these messages. The messages are sometimes hard to make out, yet some words are very clear. These messages are not left by human vocal cords, that much we know. We do not know where to go for this. I mean, it's not like we can call ghost hunters or anything. She recently had a good friend pass away, and I've also had a friend pass. It could be one of these two ladies, or it could be any lost soul needing assistance. Today's message said, as far as I could make it out, I'm calling from the afterlife." And I got tons of stories like that, folks. My email's full of them, full of stories of ghost phone calls. Those are very good examples of ghost phone calls. But when it comes down with ghost phone calls, it's just another form of electronic voice phenomena. It's no different from a spirit box, from an ovulus, from a television. It's no different. It's a form of ITC, or instrumental transcommunication. You know, if you're new out in the field, in the ghost hunting field, and if you can get, I know that a lot of the TVs right now, you know, they're all HD, they're flat screens, but if you can find one of the old antenna-style televisions where you could turn it to a channel with static, and it's got the static noise, you can keep your digital recorder near that, and you can ask questions, and the ghost should be able to use the white noise off the television to speak through. And sometimes you can hear them speaking through the TV speakers. I remember as a kid, be on channel 3, nothing but static, but you can still hear voices coming over. Is it picking up random TV signals? Yeah, it's possible. Or is it voices from the unknown? We've all watched Poltergeist. Everyone's seen that movie. You know, the little girl's next to the TV and there's voices coming out of the TV. Yeah, it's kind of the same principle. One thing I haven't tried yet, but I've done research on and kind of studied it online and in books, is with those old style TVs, they leave it on a static channel, and then they get a separate video camera pointed at that screen and record the static noise and the screen, and sometimes they get images that come out through the static. There was a recent, what was it? I read something about a guy that did that, and he was able to see his daughter appear on the TV screen. So that's a good example of ITC with EVP, is using a television. If you can find an old rotary phone, you can get that old dial tone, yeah, you can get EVPs off of that. It's all ITC EVP, folks. Doesn't matter if you got a spirit box, a white noise generator, it all works the same. And I don't understand personally how it works. I don't know how ghosts are able to use their energy to manipulate these items. But it happens all the time. I wish I could show you. I mean, this is a radio podcast, but I wish I could show you all the emails I got from all the stories I got from people sending in to me about ghost phone calls, the paranormal. God, I love it. It's freaking awesome. Yeah, it's something to try. Televisions, radios, the white noise. You can get electronic voice phenomena off of it, folks. It's something good to try. I do it a lot. I use a spirit box a lot. The SB7 spirit box. It's old school, but it works. I get several voices that come over the spirit box. You have to. The best results is get a Faraday cage for it, cover it up. But yeah, that's great to get EVPs from. I enjoy using the spirit box. But yeah, with telephones, ghost phone calls. But if you have strange stories that you want to share with me, don't hesitate. Put it in that comment section below. Get on our Facebook page and say, hey, Kale, I got a crazy ghost phone call story for you. And put it on my Facebook page. I don't want to keep you on the line here for too long. I was kind of having to rush to get this podcast in. Like I said, I've been very busy. I got a lot of paranormal data I need to go through. Just had a client investigation just about a week ago, and I need to catch up on recordings, go through pictures and stuff like that. But I just wanted to get on the air real quick and talk about ghost phone calls. We don't know. It's still rather new to me. It's still a rather new phenomenon for me. It's only happened to me once. There's a lot of stories out there, though, about people getting phone calls from the dead. So, like I said, if you got any stories or anything like that about ghost phone calls, any more input about ghost phone calls, like I said, just put them in the comment section below or put it on my Facebook page. But I'm going to go ahead and sign off of here. I hope you folks have a good day, and I'll talk to you next time.